whoever pays the piper picks the tune, as they say. We're not getting kids out of the public school system with school choice. We're actually creating more public school students because the public is paying for it. The scariest thing right now is we've got private schools becoming public schools, and under the thumb of the State Board of Education, the Federal Department of Education, by accepting these funds.
Welcome to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few, USPI's weekly podcast that empowers parents to reclaim their children's education from government bureaucrats and social engineers, equipping you with the tools and resources needed to join the cause.
Hi everyone, welcome to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm April Few, your host, in for Sherry, and today I'm very excited to welcome Robert Bortins, CEO of Classical Conversations, and today we're going to talk about his new book, Woke and Weaponized. Before we begin, please give us a 5-star rating or a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and you can learn more about USPI at uspi.org.
Today's episode is brought to you by U.S. parents involved in education. USPI's mission is to empower parents and local communities to break free from federal and national influences, thereby reclaiming parental authority over their children's education. For more insights from U.S. parents involved in education, connect with us at USPI on X and Facebook. To join the movement, visit uspi.org.
Welcome back to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host today, April Few, and we're here with Robert Bortins, CEO of Classical Conversations, an organization that is empowering families with a classical Christian education model. He's also author of several books, but the newest book is Woke and Weaponized, which he co-authored with Alex Newman, who is a longtime friend of USPI. And the official title of the book is Woke and Weaponized, How Karl Marx Won the Battle for American Education and How We Can Win It Back. Robert is a husband and father and serves as board member for several ministries while also coaching rugby. Robert Bortins, welcome to the podcast.
April, thanks for having me, and just so grateful for the work you guys do at USPI.
Oh, thank you. And likewise. So if you don't mind, I'd like to start with Classical Conversations. And for those who do not know what Classical Conversations is, what it is, and how it's different from other homeschooling approaches.
Yeah, so I was homeschooled through high school, and my mom, Lee Borton, started Classical Conversations was when I was entering my freshman year, so that we could have a chance to have peers to, debate with, read history papers with, do things like science experiments and dissections. And she kind of saw that having teenage sons debating her for 4 years without anyone else in the room probably wasn't the healthiest way to continue to homeschool. And so she wanted to form groups that would meet once a week with a trained parent tutor. The parents would still be responsible for grading and, of course, the work at home, but an opportunity for the students to get together and have that peer-to-peer interaction under the guidance of a trained tutor. And so what started out with 11 of us in 1997 grew to about 40,000 in 40 states in 2012 when I came on board after getting a degree in industrial engineering and working for a couple Fortune 50 companies and climbing the corporate ladder. I decided that I wanted to help other people homeschool because it had blessed me so much. And so since I kind of took over, we've grown now to about 130,000 students, give or take. And we're in 60 countries now. We're in all 50 states. And so we have a classical model. We read the great books. We have fun songs that the students learn in kindergarten through 6th grade to give them a robust memory. And then we work in the dialectic and then the rhetoric or through middle school and high school. And so we have about 2,000 communities here in the United States, a full K through 12 curriculum, and we've even got college classes and master's degree programs for moms. And so we're kind of, a ecosystem where we're pouring in now, hundreds of years, if not thousands of years of our homeschooling experience into a program that can help your family flourish in your homeschool.
Wow. It's like a co-op, but like a model for classical Christian co-op that meets once a week? Would you describe it as a co-op?
No, so we could describe it as a community. Co-op, those are great. I've been part of co-ops growing up. Those are cooperatives, so that you might have one parent teaching science and one doing history, and picking and choosing. We have a very specific community model, so that that's one of the things people like. If you move from North Carolina to South Carolina to Oklahoma, you can join a classical conversations community, and you're going to get that same experience over and over again. The students are learning the same things in the same weeks, and we have one master tutor that's there to help out the parents, because the parents, of course, are helping teach all of the subjects. So, yeah, so that's a little bit how we're different than like your typical co-op, which are beautiful things, but that's why we're different.
Yeah, that is different. I have never personally been involved with classical conversations, but I have probably at least four friends that I know of off the top of my head who have, and heard nothing but wonderful things about classical conversations. I love this. That's just wonderful, and you pretty much answered my next question. But a lot of parents feel caught, stuck in the government schools, and they don't even trust private options, or they're not financially feasible to do a private option. Um, how does classical conversations address those concerns with no longer trusting, private schools and financial accessibility?
Yeah, so the good thing is we're always trying to price our communities as affordably as possible. So just for a rough price range, kindergarten through third grade is going to be about $700 a year, plus facility fees, which we can't control. And then add about another $700 for that. So about $1,400 to $1,500 for fourth through sixth grade. And then seventh through 12th grade is about $1,800 to $2,000 per year. And so try to make it very affordable just through our pricing model. Parents can also tutor in our community. So there's a number of people who tutor, and then you can make money that way. So, it's not just covering your own costs, but you can, make a little pocket money as well, supporting other families. And so, we try to make it as affordable as possible for everyone. We've got like multi-student discounts and things like that as well. And one of the big things that we do is try to make it so that our curriculum, generally speaking, can be used for multiple years. Not every single piece, obviously, but we try to reuse them and make it so that it's usable for multiple kids for multiple years as well. So we try to do it because that's the unique thing about classical conversations is we are homeschoolers. So we are single income families. We are, about 80% of our employees use our product. So if they mess something up, it messes up their own kids. So they're highly motivated versus a lot of our competitors. They don't homeschool their own kids. They send their kids to private school, or they write their products for private schools or public schools or charter schools. And homeschooling is just kind of an aside. And we're grateful that they're supporting homeschooling parents, but classical conversations is all in on your success and not on your family's success.
Amazing. Um, I know we need to move on and talk about the book, but I just love hearing about the different options that there are, especially classical options. Before we move on and talk about the book, can you just quickly tell me some of the curricula that you use within your program?
Yeah, so a lot of it is our own curriculum now. But we use like things like IEW and CERC are names that people would probably be familiar with. We have our own foundations guide. That's that kindergarten through third grade kind of materials and essentials, which is that fourth through sixth grade writing, and that's where we start introducing IEW, and then some of the CERC materials in our challenge programs. We read. Do Latin. We read the great books. We have books for parents too at each level to help them along. We read things like the
What
Phantom Pole.
curriculum do you use for Latin? Is it your own?
So right now we use Henley Latin, but yeah, we are switching to our own, starting introducing it this next upcoming academic year. So we'll have our own Latin program. And we do that because it's designed for in communities as well as making sure it's following our worldview. So Henley Latin's great. But we have a couple of worldview differences with them, so we wanted to make something that was accessible for our communities. And then, yeah, great books. We read the Iliad, the Odyssey, things like What Happened to Penny Candy, Total Truth by Nancy Pearcey, Alice in Wonderland, A Passage to India, Out of the Silent Planet, the Screw Tape Letters, the Federalist Papers, Pride and Prejudice. So that's just, this is just a very small
And you
sampling
read
of
them
what
in their
students.
entirety, correct?
Yeah, from front to back. So that's the
Right,
thing with I've seen studies now where there's high school students who have never read a full book from cover to
right.
cover.
Yeah. And I
Um,
believe it for sure.
so it's full books. We probably have our students read more in seventh grade than most students will read in their lifetime. Unfortunately,
Amen. That's
from a scary
wonderful.
standpoint.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We do need to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to discuss your new book, Woke and Weaponized. So don't go away. We'll be right back with Robert Bortins.
Formal grade level standards and standardized assessments have only become widespread in recent decades. Historically, parents and educators guided children's learning based on natural developmental stages. While historically most children could read by the end of third grade, today only about 1/3 of fourth graders meet reading proficiency standards. Well-crafted standards can provide helpful guidance, but rigid application often ignores the unique pace and needs of each child. Furthermore, overemphasis on standardized testing can cause stress and detract from meaningful learning experiences. U.S. Parents Involved in Education encourages a balanced approach that respects individual differences and prioritizes real educational growth over arbitrary benchmarks. To join our movement, visit uspie.org and connect with us at USPie on Facebook and X.
Welcome back to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host, April Few, in for Sherry, and we are back with Robert Bortins, CEO of Classical Conversations and co-author of a new book, Woke and Weaponized: How Karl Marx Won the Battle for American Education and How We Can Win It Back. And Robert, you co-wrote the book with Alex Newman, who's a friend of ours here at US Pi and is also in our documentary film, Truth and Lies in American Education. Have you ever worked with Alex before this book?
This is the first time that Alex and I co-authored anything. I've known Alex for a number of years and have jostled ideas back and forth and how to work with each other to keep education free and independent of government controls. But as far as working intimately with him on a project, this was the first time, and he was a great partner. And I always tell new author, since this was my first kind of big boy book, was it's always helpful to have a co-author that's written a few already that you can lean on. So it was quite a pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, he has written quite a lot, hasn't he? And one of the first, actually, the first book on education policy that US Pi President Sherry Few had me read was Crimes of the Educators by
Mm.
Alex Newman and Sam Blumenfeld. And in our documentary, Truth and Lies in American Education, I say the truth is that I didn't believe a lot of what was in that book until I had to go look it up for myself and was pretty shocked because I didn't know anything before I started reading. When I met my mother-in-law, that's when I started. So this book tackles radical ideology that's infiltrated the classroom, weaponized in institutions, especially in education. Obviously, from the title, we get an idea of what the theme of the book is, but do you want to touch on a couple of the main themes and the main points of the book overall?
Yes, yeah, I'd love to. And this book builds on all of the work that's been done before us, and so we wanted this book to be different, though, in it providing solutions as well. And so it starts back with going back to 1820. With the founding ideas of the public school system, and a guy named Robert Owen, who wanted to create public schools so that he could defeat what he considered the trinity of evil, which was private property, Christianity, and marriage. And so that was one of the founders of the public school system. And so
Yikes.
that's where we start. And so the thing is, everyone recognizes now that we have a education crisis in the US, and we've got all these people working very hard to reform it. And if you don't know the root cause of a problem, you can't put in actual reforms that will work. And so we wanted to make it very clear what the root cause of it is, and how to fix it. And so the next couple chapters are just exploring where we are today. 34% of kids can only 34% of kids can read at grade level that are in public school. 40% of them are harassed. 35% of them are being like sexually harassed. And so they can't read, they don't know history, and it's an absolute failure. And the other thing we want to show in the book is that it's a failure for what parents want and what for students want, but it's not a failure for what the founders want. And so we go back and we just have one chapter on like the history of education prior to public schools being in the US. So most people don't know that public schools have only been around for 100 to 150 years. So it's a relatively new phenomenon. Excuse me. Yeah, I got a tickle in my throat. Hopefully you can edit that out.
That's all right.
Sorry, editors. All right, I'm
Hey,
back.
let's just leave it in.
You can do that
So
too.
real quick, I actually was not familiar with Owen. Surprisingly, as long as I've done what I've done, I know Horace Mann, John Dewey. Um, where did Owen come from?
Yeah, so Owen, not many people have heard of him. So he was a Welsh industrialist in the state of Indiana. And so he formed a commune. And the reason that he formed a commune was to prove that Christianity was inferior to collectivism. And when the commune fell, he blamed the fact that all the children had been raised in their parents' home, and that until we could get parents and children separated, the collectivist worldview, the vision that they had for our future, could not be implemented in the United States. And so he wrote, and Prussia, the leaders of Prussia got a hold of his materials, invited him over, and they are Germany pre-World War I, and most people have probably heard that our education system came from Prussia. So let's be very clear, the same education system that caused World War I was the one that we imported in the United States, and they kind of got a lot of their ideas from Robert Owen, which then, of course, Horace Mann in the 1860s, then went to Prussia and started learning about their education system. So it went from the U.S. to Prussia, back to the U.S. And Horace Mann, as you mentioned, said this, and this is how we start chapter 5 of the book. We who are engaged in the sacred cause of education are entitled to look upon all parents as having given hostages to our cause. And what causes that? The destruction of Christianity in the U.S. And, of course, Christianity, the destruction of marriage, and the destruction of private property. And why we say Karl Marx won, well, more than half of children are born out of wedlock or grow up in homes with only one parent, right? So the family's been destroyed. As far as religion is concerned, if you look at Barna, less than 3% of Generation Z has a biblical worldview, less than 8% of Americans. So very clearly they've destroyed a religious worldview here. And then private property, of course, we get about 50% of what we earn goes to taxes. So basically, we're all tax slaves, half of the year. So that's why I think we clearly can say that these ideologies, the fruit of a tree does not differ from what the soil was planted in its roots. And so the roots of public education were to destroy Christianity, and today we are living and eating that fruit as a society, and we can see that it does not produce human flourishing.
Wow, thank you so much for that wonderful explanation. Very well said, clear and concise. Thank you. Yeah, that was an excellent answer to my question. So funny. So you mentioned worldviews and competing worldviews, and one of the book's core arguments is that the classroom is the battlefield, or has become the battlefield for competing worldviews. How have you seen this play out in government school curricula, teacher training, just in general? The competing worldviews
Yeah.
and the classroom being the battlefield.
Yeah, so the classroom has been designed to undermine, fathers and mothers, right? So, if you're going to listen to the teacher over your own parents, so it makes the
Mm.
government or the school your real father and mother. The Russians, and we talk about this. They knew they couldn't defeat us in the Cold War through military might, so they targeted our teachers' colleges, and they did that with the help of the Ford Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation. And the head of the Ford Foundation, and we have the quote in the book, basically said that the goal was to merge the USSR and America. And this wasn't to make the USSR like America, it was to turn America into a collectivist nation so that those who control industry can have a docile and servile workforce. And so it's diametrically opposed to a biblical worldview and what a parent who loves their kids thinks they're sending them to the school for, right? No school is actually telling you what they're actually trying to do, and the system is always bringing power unto itself. And so it is a atheist world review with collectivism, which leads to either fascism, communism, socialism, or democrat socialism. And Mondami, who's now the mayor of New York City, said it well in his speech in his inauguration, where he said, "We need to throw off the chains of rugged individualism and embrace the warmth of collectivism." And if there is a title that should be put under every public school sign, it's that. That is the entire goal of the government-run school system.
Yeah, amen. I've seen memes of Mom Dami saying that, and then pictures of actual communist, executions and all of the mass murders and massacres that have happened under communist dictators. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, and I just wanna be very clear, April, and for your audience to know, this isn't my opinion. This is what
Yeah,
they wrote down. This is what these
right.
organizations and what these individuals wrote down as their goals. Like, the thing about this book, and one of the reasons I loved working with Alex, is we got it all documented. So we have literally 12 pages of really small font of every single link, every single news article, every single thing, so that you can go double check, if you want, what we wrote, and go read more of what they wrote about themselves. So highly documented, not my opinion, stated facts.
Yeah, they do tell the public what they're doing and what their goals are, what their end goal is. Even the World Health Organization, UNESCO, all of them have stuff on their website that clearly lays out, or notes from the different summits, their meeting minutes and things like that, all clearly define what they vote for, what the policies they want, and it is essentially just pedophilia in the long run. I mean, when we the end game is that. Um,
Absolutely.
so, what are some examples from the book that you think every parent needs to understand? I mean, you can just do one, you can do 2 points. Just
Yeah, no. Well,
you're laughing
hopefully,
because
if
I
they
know.
could. No, I mean, there's so many. So I think a couple points that we haven't gotten to yet. I mean, one, I've just touched the surface in this discussion of what we have laid out in these initial chapters. So, really understanding to your core how evil the roots and the soil of our government school system is. Like, my wife taught 10 years in the public school system before we got married, and she loved the kids. She wanted to do good by them, but the system itself eats up the good teachers. That's why teacher turnover is like some of the highest in the world for a white collar job. That's why teachers homeschool their kids at a higher rate. Like they see the underbelly of the beast, and it's not that they're not trying to do good. It's the system itself is designed to stop them from doing good. Like my wife saw 300 students a day. So, one of the big things you just mentioned, UNESCO, and I don't think people understand how much and for how long billionaires, USAID, the United Nations have been undermining our individual liberties here in the United States, and that they are working in conjunction with each other to do a mass psyop of the United States. And so, everybody's probably familiar with USAID and everything that went on, and the data Republican and what she was discovering over this last year, and Doge and things like that. Well, there was another report in the 1950s that was exploring, and the same thing was going on in the 1950s. So this weaponization of our federal system against the American people has been going on for over 75 years in the United States. And so they need to understand that and the teachers, colleges, one of the things you think, I can't teach my kids because I'm not an expert. Well, guess what? Teachers aren't experts either. My wife, bless her soul, right? They only taught her how to manage classrooms. She went to school for 4 years to learn how to manage a classroom. When she started homeschooling and reading our books at Classical Conversations about how to actually pass on knowledge to the next generation and how a child's brain actually works to learn, she goes, they never taught me this in college. And so she went to a great school. She's a 4.0 student. I mean, I don't think she's ever seen the letter B on a grade in her life, that was, I mean, so she, she's the type of teacher every single classroom should have, right? And she realized that what she had been given was false. It was a fake diploma in a way. So parents, you are capable of homeschooling your kids. God will make sure that you have what you need. And of course, there's Classical Conversations there to walk alongside you. And there's, of course, other programs that are very good as well. So I think those are some of the important things to know. And then we expose school choice in the book. Who's really financing it? What are its core values? What are they saying? What does the marketing say? What do they say when they post things on Facebook and social media? But what's really going on behind the scenes there, and how it can be a trap, if you will, if we're not careful. And so those are some of the things that I think are important in the books, because we don't want to sell our birthright away like Esau sold his. And I'm afraid that many parents are being tricked just like he was.
Amen. And thank God for your wife and for the many teachers out there who realize the problems and make a change. Here in South Carolina, we had thousands of teachers leave the profession within the last 5 years. And I don't know the percentage, but I know it's a very high percentage of substitute and other teachers that are in the classroom currently that are not certified, or well, I'm not sure where they came from.
Yeah.
So thank God for her. And, I went to college for a semester. I dropped out of college, have no college degree,
Mm,
and I am the best teacher for my children. I would never let
absolutely.
anyone else teach my children. And I thank God for that realization. I used to think there was no way I would homeschool my kids because I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have a teacher's certificate. I was not a math expert. I didn't have an English degree, nothing.
Hmm.
How can you possibly educate your own children like that? And now I see that home education is just, it's not public school.
Yeah.
That's what it's not.
Well,
It's
yeah.
not public school.
And again, like the
Um,
other thing to say was just like the public school system is producing the fruit it was intended to produce. 34%
mm,
of students being able to read at grade level, that was what the founders of the public school system were ultimately hoping for.
so-
So I think that's important for people to know. And like I told my wife, I was a Star Wars nerd. Like as a teacher, like Yoda told Luke Skywalker, you must unlearn what you have learned. So you are,
It's true. I hear that from teachers all the time. It's so true who have stopped to homeschool.
Yep.
that they have to unlearn that, and that it's very rewarding.
Yep.
So we do need to take another short break, but before we go, with all this evidence out now about the history of education, and most people who would hear that would say, "Oh my goodness, this is awful." I certainly don't want this for my child. So with all of that evidence, why don't I know that there are more parents waking up, but why do you believe that it's not more people just up in arms?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've become comfortably numb as a society. We don't understand what we've lost. So this has happened over, 5 or 6 generations. And so each generation loses a little bit and they don't know it because they never learned it in the first place. And so now, typical movements like this take multiple generations. And so now we're far enough removed, and it's easy. It's the easy button, right? A yellow school bus is going to pick my kid up in the morning. It's going to take it away at night. These professionals, remember, the system is designed to psyop the general populace into believing professionals and experts and those who have accreditations are smarter than you, and you should do whatever they say. And so, 90% of our populace has been through that system, and it takes a lot to kind of wake you up from that. And then you've got just the rat race and consumerism that are built into the American society. And so, there's a movie called Fight Club, which is rated R, so no one should probably watch it. But it's a good, if you don't mind rated R movies, they have a good line in it though. And it's, I'll paraphrase it because they use a curse word, but it's basically, you work a job you hate to impress people you don't like, to buy things you don't need. And that is our society in a nutshell. And so people are in consumer debt. They need 2 incomes to survive. And so they sell their children off to the lowest bidder.
Very well said. And I was one of those who went through government school from kindergarten all the way through senior year and on to college because that's what you did. And now I have no degree and still thousands of dollars of student loan debt to show for it. So there you go. And I thank God for Sherry and US Pie for waking me up, because I had no idea even who Sherry was, that she was involved in education policy. And I married her youngest son and then quickly realized who she was and said, oh boy. So yeah, but it's kind of like the frog in boiling water scenario, where over time, generation after generation, slowly it builds up to where now we're in boiling water and parents are trying to get out. So this has been a wonderful conversation. Can you let the audience know where they can go to find classical conversation resources, like your website and the book?
Yeah, for sure. Classicalconversations.com, classicalconversationsbooks.com. But if you go to classicalconversations.com, you can put in your zip code and we'll connect you with a real human, a local one that is homeschooling in your area, and they can walk you through getting started with us. Offer you to come to one of our free open houses or information meetings, or our free parent practicums, which is like a 1-day homeschool boot camp that we offer in the summer. And then Woke and Weaponized is currently on Amazon.com, so we wanted to make it more accessible to a wider audience upon launch. So you just go to Amazon.com, search Woke and Weaponized, and it'll be should be the top one there, and it'll be on Classical Conversation books later this spring as well. So yeah, I'd love it if y'all can pick it up, help us get to become a bestseller on Amazon, so that more people will pick up the book and understand what's really going on with our school systems.
Yeah, you heard it, folks. We do need to take one more short break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask you, Robert, 2 questions that we ask all of our guests. Stay tuned.
Standardized testing has a long history in the United States. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2002 marked a turning point by mandating regular testing to increase accountability. However, performance did not improve as hoped, sparking widespread controversy. Despite these standardization efforts, which continue today, academic achievement has declined in many areas, and parents have grown increasingly concerned about the amount of data collected through the assessments. Given these results, it's clear that mandatory standardized testing has not fulfilled its promise to improve learning and may have unintended negative consequences. U.S. Parents Involved in Education advocates for assessment approaches that truly support students' educational needs and respect family privacy. To join our movement, visit uspie.org and connect with us at USPie on Facebook and X.
Welcome back to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host, April Few, and we are here back with Robert Bortins, CEO of Classical Conversations and co-author of Woke and Weaponized. So we usually close our show with two important questions. So Robert, the first question is, what concerns you most about what's happening in government schools and what gives you hope?
Yeah, so what concerns me the most right now is the vast expansion of government schools and what's going on in our school system and the betrayal of the conservatives to homeschoolers. And so, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is school choice. School choice is the clear and present danger because whoever pays the piper picks the tune, as they say. And so we're not getting kids out of the public school system with school choice. We're actually creating more public school students because the public is paying for it. And that's the scariest thing right now is we've got private schools that used to be private schools becoming public schools and under the thumb of the state board of education and the federal Department of Education by accepting these funds. And I'll just read a quick excerpt from our foreword that Dr. Benjamin Merkel wrote. Over the past 40 years, the classical Christian education movement, both in institutional schools and in the homeschooling families that have adopted the model, has easily been the single biggest cultural victory of the American evangelical church. Therefore, it should not surprise us that forces would align to target and gain control of this movement. If we want to continue gaining ground in the world of education, it is imperative that we not hand control of what we have built at the K-12 level over to a secular authority. And what we must understand is that funding is authority. And again, that's Dr. Benjamin Merkel, president of New St. Andrews College. So I think that's the biggest danger to the United States becoming a full-blown collectivist organization is getting those 10 to 12% of kids who are not in public school into public school through the expansion of public dollars paying for private choices. So that's the clear and present danger that will be kind of the straw that breaks the republic's back if it gets mass adoption inside the United States.
Here in South Carolina, we had a bill that would have given homeschool. Well, it did. I'm sorry. We have a bill, and
Yeah.
homeschoolers were able to apply for money, government money, and without being told about strings attached and all of those things. And so many took it. And we also had other money that our state legislature now is going after our state superintendent of education because apparently the money was not intended for homeschoolers, but she
Nope.
interpreted the law to include homeschoolers. So it is a giant mess. What a mess. And school choice is certainly a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm so glad that you pointed that out as one of the top concerning things. And even charter schools, we have so many charter schools popping up around here. And I ask people, how is it funded? And most of them either say, well, I don't know, or, they get state and federal money. I'm like, well, there you go.
So we have a whole chapter in the book, Woke and Weaponized, about charter schools. And you want to know who's funding it? George Soros, Bill Gates. Those guys are funding it. The Walton Foundation, the Ford Foundation, every single group that wants to destroy your individual rights is the one funding charter schools. And when charter schools open, church schools close down. It's a statistical fact.
Yep. We have a
it's
church in our area who just opened a charter school within the church. And I'm thinking, why?
yeah,
Why?
yeah,
So
because they haven't
with
read their
that, I know
Bible.
that is. Say that again.
Because they haven't read their Bible.
Yeah, well, they can't in that school anyway with
Yeah,
state and federal
exactly.
money. So yeah, you're right. So I know that concerns you. Do you want to tell the audience, what gives you hope?
Yeah, I think what gives me hope, it's kind of the different side of the same coin is parents have woken up and parents do understand that the government run school system is broken, but they're as they're trying to escape, they don't understand that the funding is the mechanism for control. But yeah, the exciting thing is parents are getting out of your local public schools and trying to really think about other opportunities. Homeschooling is almost 4 million now, so about 8% of school age children are now being homeschooled. That number grew about 5.6% last year, according to NERI, NHERI.org. I definitely go check them out. And they have a lot of great statistics over there. So the good thing is, I think when I talk to people with kids under the age of 5, like they're almost 100% of the time trying to find out how to send their kids to any school but their public school. So I think that is good. But yeah, we need to do it with private dollars. We need to be fundraising in our churches. We need to have scholarship programs that are financially paid for through private through private citizens, and that's the way forward. That's the way the Bible tells us to do it, not through the burden of taxation.
Amen. Amen. Yes. And you don't have to replicate government schools, so you don't have to spend as much as other people do. I mean, some years we do spend a little more, several hundred, and then others we still have leftover curriculum, or I just am using another book for science, or a book that my husband bought, or got from the library or something like that. So it does vary, and there's so many different ways to do it, no
Yeah,
matter what your income looks like. I think
exactly.
ideally with classical conversations is it's put together for you, and it's a trusted uh, materials list and resources and curriculum. So, like for me, I don't need help with anything. But there are many, many parents who do need that, at least for getting started. And you know what? Let me take that back. When I first started, I had homeschool mothers walking with me, holding my hand and showing
Mm,
me, and they would let me look at their stuff, and then of course with US Pi and all of the stuff I've learned, I just actually have learned on my own how a child's brain develops, and the trivium, and the proper way to educate a child through a biblical worldview, and as God intended it. So
yeah, yeah. Well, just I mean, there's plenty of ways to homeschool, and I encourage all of them. But like things we do in classical conversations, like mock trial, debate, science fair,
yeah,
poetry
right,
jam, those would be very hard for you to do individually inside of a family. So, not that you can't do them, but
absolutely.
you might not want to be your debate sparring partner for all of your kids.
Yeah, no, that would not work in our. No, for sure. That's
Especially if you do a good
wonderful.
job homeschooling, because they'll end up smarter than us.
Yeah, my 10-year-old, she'll say things, and I'm like, "Where did you learn that?" And she's like, "Oh, the Bible DVD you bought me." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
cool."
yeah,
So,
exactly.
well,
Awesome.
Ro- yeah, Robert, thank you so much for being on the show. This was very refreshing, and I was quite excited to interview you. So I appreciate you joining us. And to our listeners, if you found today's episode eye-opening, please give us a thumbs up or 5-star rating. You can subscribe to stay informed, and visit uspie.org to join the movement. And thank you for supporting our efforts to unmask government schools.
U.S. Parents Involved in Education is a nonprofit coalition dedicated to restoring local control of education and parental authority. By empowering parents to reclaim responsibility for their children's learning and encouraging states to move away from federal influence, U.S. PI seeks to create a culture where parents are the primary decision makers in education and schools support families without the burden of federal mandates. If you want to start a state or regional U.S. PI chapter in your area, please visit uspi.org and complete the brief questionnaire in the chapter section.